Hello. Today's video is going to be a quick overview of the SCOTUS FRQ. This is FRQ 3 for the AP Government and Politics exam this year, and specifically for the 2021 digital version because there's a slight change in Part A of this question. And I have a strategy that I think will help you tackle this question and be able to answer it and hopefully get all the points. So last workshop we talked about what this change is. Basically, you're going to get the non-required case, right? 2 paragraphs or so about a case that you may or may not have ever heard of. But then instead of in Part A giving you a case for comparison, College Board is going to ask you to choose a case from the required list of 15. If you are testing right now, or if you're practicing with the digital exam app, go in there, go through the whole thing. It will take some time to get all the way through the demo, but you can see this type of question and how it's going to look in the exam interface if you go and check it out there. So I think that there are 3 things you need to do for Part A in order to kind of get your mind right and tackle this question in a way that will help you make a clear comparison and earn as many points as possible for this FRQ. And I boiled them down to 3 C's. And those 3 C's are, first of all, Constitution, right? What is, when you read those 2 paragraphs, what is the constitutional clause or principle that the Supreme Court used to render the holding in this non-required case, the case that they give you? So that is, sometimes it's going to be really obvious. It might be a phrase or a concept that's kind of embedded in the text, but you want to be laser focused on figuring out what is the constitutional basis for the holding in this non-required case. Once you have that, then you can move on to the case, right? So look at that list of 15, and this is also where your knowledge of the 15 cases is really going to come in to help you, and try to figure out which of those 15 cases is using the same constitutional clause or principle. If you see a match, then that is a good indication that that might be the right case to choose. If you see a couple, then you can kind of weigh your options there. Look at the whole scenario, look at the facts of the case, and try to figure out which is going to be the best for comparison. You don't want to choose more than one. You just want to be focused on one case for comparison. So then once you've chosen your case, based on your constitutional principle, all the C's are related, then you want to do a comparison. How are these cases similar or different? Based on this constitutional clause, and then explain the reasons why. That is always going to be Part B of the question. So if we were doing this, you can pause the video here and read this non-required case summary. I'll assume you're doing that now. But the thing that really stands out to me when I read this is the last sentence, right? Which I guess is this whole paragraph. In the subsequent case, National Labor Relations Board versus Jones and Laughlin Steel Corporation, 1937, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the NLRB by a 5-4 vote, holding that the Jones and Laughlin Steel Corporation conducted interstate commerce and that industrial labor relations affect that commerce. So they upheld the actions of the National Labor Relations Board using commerce, interstate commerce. That makes me think of the Commerce Clause, right? So that is kind of ricocheting around in my head. That's the constitutional clause or principle that the Supreme Court has used to determine this case. So now I'm going to look at my list of cases and kind of go through where do I see the Commerce Clause being used. So again, pause here if you need to. Take a moment to look through this list. And if you have the list, you'll have the list in front of you. So if you have your mnemonic devices, if you have your little memory, games that you've played to remember what these are, you can just kind of start going through the list. And the one that hopefully you will settle on is U.S. versus Lopez, right? That is the one that is the most explicit use of the Commerce Clause. So then you want to set up your comparison. And I think it's kind of a 3-way comparison. So once you have your constitutional clause or principle, you want to think about how is that related to the given case. And that might be text that you can pull directly from the excerpt, like we looked at a moment ago. But then you also want to think about what is the required case with the facts of the case. So just making a quick note to yourself, if you were outlining this or pre-writing it, of what are you going to talk about when you talk about, in this case, U.S. versus Lopez. And then as you think about how those are both related to the Commerce Clause, in this case, to the constitutional clause or principle, you want to think about how is the holding in these cases? Is it similar? Is it different? And then you want to answer the question of why. And if you can do that, that is basically everything that Part B of the question, Part A and Part B of the question are asking you to do. So my comparison for this particular question, right, I identified the Commerce Clause as being the constitutional clause that the Supreme Court is using in this case, right? And I just make a little note to myself. The federal government can regulate this company, the federal government, in the form of this bureaucratic agency, the National Labor Relations Board. The Supreme Court says they can do that because of the Commerce Clause. And in U.S. versus Lopez, that's different, right? The federal government in that case says that Congress, or the Supreme Court rather, says that the federal government in the form of Congress has overstepped its authority using the Commerce Clause to regulate, it says regular, that's a typo, regulate guns in schools. So while we might all agree that no one should be bringing guns into schools, the Supreme Court in that case said, that's great, but you have to find a different constitutional basis for passing a law like that. The Commerce Clause just doesn't quite cut it. So these are different, the holdings are different. And then in my response, my task is to explain why. What is it in the facts of the case that are that end up with a different decision, or in the character of the court, perhaps? There's lots of different explanations for why the Supreme Court decides what it has. You just have to make sure that you articulate that clearly. So then you want to answer the rest of the question as you normally would after you've done this sort of pre-writing and thought about your strategy for approaching the question. So a few reminders always for the Supreme Court FRQ. There's that hidden point in Part B, right? Even though it just says A, B, C, there are actually 4 points that you can earn. The hidden point is for explaining the facts of the required case that you choose. So whatever one you want to choose from the list, put in a couple sentences about who was suing whom, what was the constitutional question, what was the holding in this case, and then that will also, I think, set up your comparison really easily to answer the rest of Part B. Explain, explain, explain. Don't be satisfied with just saying the constitutional principle that they both have in common is federalism or checks and balances or the Commerce Clause or whatever it may be. Just another sentence or so of explanation is just going to solidify your answer throughout. And you have full 20 minutes to answer this. You won't even be able to move on to the next question until you finished and submitted your answer. You should use the full 20 minutes to make sure that your answer is as thorough and clearly explained and articulated as it can possibly be. When you move too quickly and your thought stays in your brain and it doesn't make its way to the page, that's when you leave points on the table. And then finally, Part C is often about how people who might disagree with the holding could respond in order to have an impact on the law, the holding, whatever the situation was that's being described in the case, the company policies in this particular case. So remember the L's, right, for getting around a law that you don't like. You could talk about litigation. It's already a Supreme Court case, so I don't know if litigation is your best avenue, but you could certainly talk about legislation or finding a loophole. And then if you do want to discuss something broader, so maybe some more of those linkage institution type of activities like having a protest or publishing a newspaper story, affecting court appointments, lobbying a group or an interest group, be sure you can do that, but be sure that you link your response back to the question of impact, right? AP stands for answer the prompt, and they want you to do that over and over and over and over again on these test questions. So you have to be sure that you know the prompt, you have fully answered it. Again, use that 20 minutes to your advantage here before you move on. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. I wish you best of luck. If you have questions, let me know, and we'll talk about some more FRQs soon. See ya.